Now we're going to turn our attention to a different aspect of the Japanese ceramic tradition, and actually Japanese craft tradition, which is the concept of Ningen Kokuho, or national living treasures. And this is an area that Monica has spent a lot of time researching at various points of her career. And I think I would like Monica to tell us a little bit about the true significance and the means by which an artist or a craftsperson is selected for this unique designation and honor.
With pleasure. So protection of cultural heritage in Japan began in 1871 when the government started to record important artworks. The law for preservation of national treasure was formulated in 1929. An updated legislation was passed in 1950 as the Law for Protection of Cultural Properties. Traditional crafts and performing arts were included as intangible cultural properties. Those fields of decorative arts which were considered of especially high historical or artistic value were registered and named as important intangible cultural properties. The persons or groups who represent a certain area are called holders of important intangible cultural properties and became known as living national treasures. Now we have 56 fields of decorative arts in this living national treasure system. The decorative arts are divided into 8 categories, including ceramic, textile, lacquer, metal, dolls, wood and bamboo, paper, and other. These categories are further divided into a number of more specific subcategories. The Living National Treasure designation is not an award system for the individuals themselves, but rather a way of preserving the skills they hold and ensure that they can be passed down to future generations. The number of Living National Treasures is limited, and only one artist can be designated to represent a particular field. The title is irrevocable. Let's see how many living national treasures we have in ceramic art. So as you can see, we have currently 9 living national treasures representing various areas of ceramic art. Suzuki Osamu is the holder of the title in Shinoware, and we have artists representing white porcelain, underglazed gold application, Byzantware, iron glazing, celadon, black settle. Let's see in the next slide a few examples by these artists. So probably you can recognize immediately the beautiful tea-ball on the top by Suzuki Osamu and the black settleware by Kato Kozo. You will remember many of these from Jones Gallery. The beautiful Byzantware by Isezaki Jun is from the North collection, now in the mat. And the 2 white porcelain pieces are by Maeda Akihiro and Inoue Manji. And the gold leaf application, a beautiful this, is by Yoshita Minori. I would like to show 3 tea balls and explain a little bit about the significance of transmitting traditions in the Living National Treasure system. The tea ball on the left side is a Momoyama tea ball named Hirosawa. It has iron oxide painting on the body under the thick creamy white shino glaze. It has straight walls, a very wide mouth, and a very stable foot, a relatively thin walls, and it feels very sturdy, very relaxed. So you can recognize the qualities of the Momoyama shinoware. The tea ball on the top is by Arakawa Toyozo, who is the first living national treasure in shinoware. He made this tea ball in 1953 for the first Japanese traditional art craft exhibition. It has a round shape, which gives a modern feeling to it. The red hue covers almost the whole surface of the tea ball. So all the characteristics of the Momoyama period are present, but Arakawa was able to create his own style, which was sometimes even called as Arakawa Shino. The tea ball in the bottom corner is by Suzuki Osamu. It's also a Shino Chawan, made in 2012. And you can immediately see the stylistic differences. You can recognize the texture. You can recognize the unique shape, which tells the story of Suzuki Osamu's own take on shinoware. If you look at the glaze, you might be able to recognize the gas firing and all the technical aspects that we already discussed. But the point of the Living National Treasure system is that the technical traditions that were developed in the Momoyama period transmitted to our generation, but it's always modernized, it's always updated, and the Living National Treasure system is based on the idea that the vessels should be functional. So these are mainly functional artworks opposed to sculptural forms, which is more for the younger generation, but we will talk more about this with Tetsu-san.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
I think I have a question.
Yes, Nick. I think it's time for you to ask a question to Osamu Sensei via Tetsu-san regarding his experience as a Ningen Kokuho.
So altogether, 166 artists have been designated as living national treasures in the field of Japanese decorative arts. Now we have 56 active artists. Suzuki Sensei is the second living national treasure after Arakawa Toyozo to represent shinoware. Did Arakawa have any influence on your work? And in conjunction with this question, I also would like to know a little bit about how you apprenticed with your father.
父親の代読しますね。荒川豊蔵先生が京都の宮永東山さんのところで工場長をしておられた際、私の親父、が勤めることをお願いしたら、美濃から来たということで認めていただいたようです。親父がまだ若い頃の話です。先生はその後、北大路魯山人さんが来て鎌倉に行ってしまわれるのですが、その間、4、5年の間修行をさせていただいたようです。そんな関係から接託によく立ち寄ってくださったことを覚えています。その後、日本伝統工芸展に応募するようになってからは、荒川先生に作品をよく見てもらい、指導してもらいました。
So I think we have time for just one last question. And I think that's from Monica, because we want to bring the conversation from the 20th century into the 21st century, having dwelt on the Ningen Kokuho system in the first two generations. What about for the third generation of clay artists as we go forward? Monica?
Yes. So what does the Living National Treasure system mean for the younger generation of potters?
人間国宝についてどう思うかっていうことですね。はい。皆さんどう考えているのか、正直なところ全くわからないです。というのは私の父親がそういう存在だからか、客観的に見ることができないようです。私たちよりも上の世代の人たちは、それが最終目的みたいな目標みたいなところがあって、何とかして掴み取りたいと頑張ってきたのだろうけど、今の若い人たちがどう考えているのかちょっと想像がつかないです。それでも展覧会でいわゆるその人間国宝の作品を見るときには何かをそこから学び取ろうとしている姿勢は強く感じるので、人間国宝という名前の響きは絶大なものがあるかもしれません。
Thank you so much, Suzuki Tetsu-san. That was very personal, and I'm sure not an easy thing to talk about as the son of one himself. And on that note, I would like to thank the Suzuki family for giving us this privilege and opportunity to bring the best of their work to New York. And I would like to thank many people in our audience tonight for supporting the work that they do. Several of the people who were with me in 2015 when we made that amazing visit to their house and were so graciously received are here with us tonight. So it's nice to have this event come full circle. And thank you to your father for bringing the best of the best to New York. I would like to also, if we go to the next slide, encourage you to stay tuned for the second half of the Fathers and Sons show that we are doing with the Wakao family. That will take place on the 8th with two different participants, another illustrious curator and another academic from another Midwestern university. So I hope we have an equally engaging conversation and that you can join us for that. And next slide. To go even further into the future, we're trying to do one of these in our amateurish fashion a month. And in November, we will have an exhibition of the work of Akiyama Yo and Kitamura Junko. And so I am taking the opportunity of trying to bring a panel discussion that we had in Tokyo with the launch of the Allure of Japanese Contemporary Ceramics in Tokyo in autumn of 2019, and bring a new panel together to talk about Japanese clay art and what is art and what is craft, and what the perception is in Japan and the perception is in America, and try to have an illuminating discussion with these four leaders in that field. And our last Zoom call of the year will be in conjunction with Hands and Earth, a traveling exhibition of the Horvitz, Jeffrey and Carol Horvitz's collection. They're here with us tonight. And this show will be at the Katona Museum, which is a mere hour drive out of New York. And hopefully everything will be open in December and we can all go and see this wonderful show. And we'll be bringing a conversation with several of the artists represented in that show for that venue. So thank you all for coming tonight, staying with us. Big thank yous for our presenters for illuminating so much of what is about tradition, where tradition meets modernity, and I think stimulating us all. So thank you, good night everyone, and bon appetit.
Thank you.